Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. We're back on a Monday, and as always, Grumpy with the reckless coffee in it is ready to go because it's a Monday. And Matush, who's so lazy today, he didn't even find a witty headline. See, you got to do what I do, which I've been using the same one since that was available to use. What's happening?
Not much. I see that Alan is in the chat saying it's freaking freezing. Can I show you what's freaking freezing, Alan? Let me show you what's freaking freezing. Not 26 degrees. No. Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
The screen has frozen.
It's so cold you can't even see how cold it is. No, right here it's -9 and it feels like it's -27. So that's you put a negative sign in front of that 26, Alan.
And we're a couple of hours away, but so I can confirm.
You must be in shorts.
It is ridiculously cold. I let the boys out this morning to run around and poop and all that good stuff, and way too freaking cold out there. And mind you, our hot tub is not working. So in this time of basically the heater is not working. The dude made it so that he's supposed to come out today to repair it. I just don't see how that's possible because I don't want to, bury dead bodies in the backyard working in a hot tub midday through the day. It's too cold to dig holes. So I don't know how that's going to happen. But so the pump has to go every 10 minutes so the water doesn't freeze. Even that seems kind of dangerous because in 10 minutes, a lot can happen out there. It is ridiculously cold.
Yeah. Did your dogs go outside and actually do the business, or it wasn't cold enough? They're fine.
What is that supposed to mean? Yeah, why? Some dogs don't.
I didn't want to say were they able to pee and poop, because Blue
eat a lot of fiber, man.
she'll go outside and she's standing there and then she picks one paw up and then picks the other paw up because it's getting cold, and then she just looks back at me and then just comes back inside.
It's a balmy -6 in Elkhart. Yeah, freaking Cersei living the good life, 64. You know what? I will remind you this when you have to wake up at 4:30 for a game in a couple of weeks over here. So what goes around comes around.
Exactly.
No, the boys are, Stitch used to be the same way. He's becoming an older man now. So he feels like snow is overrated. So he'll go outside. He doesn't care. He'll run around a little bit and stuff. Leo is very excited because he eats snow and runs around and hops around like a goat. He'll just hop, skip around. He loves it. Stitch used to be the same way, but now he comes back to the door. He's like, dude, it's the same shit as last year. It's fucking cold. So let me back in, kind of a
deal. Used to this. Leo doesn't change every year.
Yeah. It's going to be here again next year, man. Don't worry about it. I mean, to be fair, we made it till middle of January without too much torture, right?
Yeah, we've had a very mild winter so far, and that sort of just worries me that we're just going to get dumped on for the next month, 2 months, right? And we won't really truly have summer begin until June this year is what it feels like.
No, because I remember reading about how this was going to be a milder winter, El Nino effect and all that kind of stuff back in end of August or somewhere around there, September, before even winter hits. And I was like, oh, for once they were probably right. But yeah, we're not in the clear, that's for sure. Middle of January, a lot more. It's supposed to warm up by Friday. So Ryan, I'm sure, is warming up over there too. We're going to go back into the 30s, kids. So get those t-shirts and shorts out. We're going outside. We're going streaking. I used to have a Sharp Shepherd mix that I love the shit. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They really like it. Leo enjoys it a lot. Stitch, I don't know if he likes it. Let's put it at he doesn't mind it. Kind of an ordeal, but I mind it. That's for freaking sure. It's way too cold. I am proud to say I have not left the house. I don't remember the last time I freaking left the house.
Really? I left yesterday. It was pretty cold yesterday too. I will say. Wasn't much better than
okay, I'm afraid to say, and this could possibly be true. Holy shit, I didn't even realize this. I have not left the house since we came back from Vegas. Wow. So that's what? Last Saturday. So 9 days.
Oh, 9 days.
Confinement, if you will.
That is that.
I'm pretty sure I have not, and I'm proud to say that, mind you. Like, I'm not like saying it. Like, I am proud to say that. I mean, I work from home, as you know, so it's not, it's not like I'm skipping work, and like I'm like being a bum. It's just that I haven't had the need to go out, and Layla's home, which really helps because the other day we had to go out to get the boys food. And I was like, hey, since you're going out, because Layla religiously goes and works out every day. I don't have such discipline, unfortunately, waiting for it to get a bit nicer before I hit the gym daily. But yeah, so she does go and work out every day. So she's like, hey, while you're out, So that avoids having to go out. Okay.
That's why you have kids, right?
Pretty much. That's why I had kids. So I don't know why everybody else doesn't, but yeah, that's what. Okay, so couple of things to get to. I don't think we ever talked about this on air. The whole Sven Goran Eriksson thing, where his childhood dream was to, I don't know if it was childhood dream, but his dream was to coach Liverpool. And there's like which is a really nice gesture, and I understand that, but I don't know if it's just me or if it's because it's kind of like a January where there's not a lot of happening and nobody's even in the mood for transfer rumors. It's getting ridiculous amounts of coverage, and the biggest thing is the Legends game. It's a 2-in-1 kind of thing. It feels like, right?
Yeah, and I think Robbie Fowler had said something about getting Sven in to be the manager, and so when it has those kinds of legs, then you're like, yeah, just throw him out there. What's actually the worst that'll happen if you let him manage the Legends game? So it's a nice gesture. Like you're saying, if we had a lot more to pick apart this January, it would be different. We might not even talk about it. But since we were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel to see what Liverpool related things we could potentially talk about, it is on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get canned by halftime, is he? Hey, Chavez might be. I mean, we do go all over the place, obviously, because we're live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. But now we're live on Instagram. He might be our first audience from Indonesia, and I'm assuming the weather is nicer over there. But that's kind of like my assumption there. I really don't know much, but you would assume they don't have the crappy weather, at least that we do over there. But hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Okay, yeah, I agree with that Eriksson thing. It's a nice gesture. Let's just do it. Ryan says breaking news: English legend of Liverpool fan. But
I mean, is that's not as common as you would. I would probably think that English legends would, I don't know, maybe they'd be more of a United fan first than a Liverpool fan. If I'm thinking of just overall feelings towards Liverpool and United throughout history, like if you were to tell me that someone in the 60s, 70s, and 80s is a fan or has always been a fan of a club, I'm gonna first think United before Liverpool, unfortunately.
That's a good question, actually. What is like if I told you a generic that doesn't sound right, but a generic English guy you meet, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say you meet him at the bar or something like that, you talk, you're like, oh, there's an accent, are you English and stuff? What would you assume is the team root for? I think I go with a London team, obviously due to the population and everything like that. Yeah. I would assume they root for a London team.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it depends on how old they are too. If they're a bit younger, then I could probably have some more fun guessing. But if they're a bit older, like I said before, I don't think there would be much outside of United that I would guess right away, or Spurs, weirdly enough. But yeah, and then they come back to you and say, well, I don't even watch football. That's been my experience. Anyone with an English accent that I've seen like in the store or whatnot, and I've talked to, like, oh, like do you watch? Do you support? Like, no, nothing.
Steve Cook, who just joined us, and he's actually writing his first piece as like the My Liverpool story. He was telling me, I mean, I don't want to spoil this article about how he became a Liverpool fan, but obviously it's kind of like it's changing, but especially in the past, I mean, we go way back with Steve, like to college days. So it's, we know like soccer was not as popular then. So it was like almost like a little click you had. If like you had a connection like that, you're like, oh, you watch soccer too, kind of an ordeal. So he was talking about like when he was talking about being a bartender, he like, like would ask people, the moment you hear the accent, because you're like, oh, somebody else who knows
There's a
football kind of a
chance. Yeah.
And that's, I don't want to spoil the story because it's going to get published pretty soon over here. But yeah, I mean, I think if I meet somebody, unless there's like a very specific accent, I think my assumption is more like a London team. I can say, just because
Like
of
Brentford.
or for example, yeah, Fulham. Yeah. No LFC football this weekend, says Steve. Yes, and I think aside from that freaking City game where Kevin De Bruyne comes to save the day, it was a perfect weekend in terms of all the scores and the way they could turn out.
Yes, and can I say something that might be a little? I don't know if we're at that point yet. I don't know if you agree, but can we say Kevin De Bruyne is probably Premier League's greatest midfielder ever up to this point?
Holy cow! How long has he been? I guess because I would consider.
I mean,
When you say the greatest, I want him to have at least 5 to 10 years, right?
He's been here for 8.
Really?
I want to say. Let me.
Does that include his
Let me ask
Chelsea, which was pretty abysmal? But then again, it was Chelsea.
Let me
So was
let me ask our fact checker here to double check.
Uncle Google.
He's been at City since 2015.
Look at that, 9 years. Dang on.
I counted 8 because we just got into 2024, so I was right.
I was trying to give you credit. But I guess 8 is dead on, so let's give you even more credit. Let's go backwards just to give you more credit. Okay. I have to think. Can we do like attacking midfielder compared to? No, we're not doing the.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a tough because there are different variations of midfielders. I mean, when you think you've got Lampard, you've got Gerrard, you've got De Bruyne. You've got. I mean, Fabregas is great as well, right? I think Fabregas is highly underrated, based on what he was able to do in the Prem. Who else? Now I'm blanking because I wasn't prepared to say any other name.
Yeah, so he says no way. Stevie G easily the best midfielder along with Lampard's. And DC says, morning guys, hope your weekend was filled with cream pies and happiness.
Well, I can let you know, DC. Yesterday I had a watch along with Mecca, and there was much happiness, just not enough cream pies. But next time we'll have some more fun.
No happy ending in that watch along. I thought, I wasn't able to join the watch along. Fenerbahce was playing at the same time, and I didn't want to go cross-eyed the entire show over there, which was torturous, but yet another win, so we'll take it. I thought looking at the score, hey, picked a good game to do the watch along this weekend, and then listen to you guys, caught you guys last 15 minutes. And yeah, did not sound like it was that good.
It was okay. Yeah, like we were saying yesterday, game consisted of pretty much four attacks that were worth noting, and they ended up in goals. There was a header by Romero that went off the crossbar that could have saved Spurs some extra points, but overall, it felt like once they leveled, both teams were level at 1-1 or 2-2. They both played to sort of just see that out, and we didn't see a lot of gumption from either squad, especially when it was tied up.
Yeah, DC says Gerrard, Yaya, De Bruyne, Lampard in that order. And then Sergi says KDB played and plays with elite players. Stevie played with crap players, usually barring Alonso and Mascherano. And this is why I kind of hate comparing eras, because at the same time, the Premier League was not as good.
Yes, yeah.
So the competition they played against was not as good either. I understand the case of though that De Bruyne is playing with, like stars all around, whereas Gerrard, aside from those like few years for the most part, yeah, he was more like the MVP, if you will, constantly like carrying the team over the line by himself, kind of an ordeal. But like I say, the Patrick Vieira is another good shout. Yeah, I mean, attacking midfielder, let's go that way. I think the biggest thing that you can make a case for Gerrard and Lampard and even Yaya over De Bruyne is they are better defensively.
Yeah.
Stevie at his peak would get into our current team. Oh, that's an interesting question, by the way. Would you play him at the 6 then?
Yeah, but I'd also play De Bruyne on this current team.
Yeah, I mean, De Bruyne. Yeah, De
I
Bruyne
mean,
walks into any team. I
yeah.
mean,
So I don't know. I will say box to box. Yes, I don't think De Bruyne is as good as some of the aforementioned players. But as far as obviously, I'm a bit younger too, so I don't have as much experience from the '90s prem and the early 2000s as much as I'd like to. But I haven't been able to see a midfielder offensively dictate a game as much as Kevin De Bruyne does. And that's just for me. He plays at his own pace all the time. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do defensively. It's just he does what he wants to do, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I just like the fact that he knows where he's going with the ball as the ball is coming to him, or sometimes before it is passed to him. Like he's already kind of like observe, and it's not like it's a predetermined pass. He just knows what's going to be open, and not to mention he gets the ball there. I guess that's the biggest thing. There are a lot of players who know where the ball should go, but
Right.
getting it there at the right pace and everything like that is a huge deal. Offensively minded midfielder, I think. I mean, here's the thing: I'm old enough to have watched a lot of like number 10s, which I keep saying it's like an obsolete position right now. But there were a lot of number 10s who that's really all they did, right? Like they would just build, they would just get the ball, turnarounds, or they already knew where they were going to go, one touch pass, or they would know, to create an opening through ball and they get assists left and right, or they take a shot, blah, blah, blah. I feel like now that position has evolved so much. Obviously, that number 10 for the most part is obsolete. So when I look at midfielder now, I feel like, it should be something that's like does both sides of the field.
More well-rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair. But obviously different teams have different necessities, and some of those midfielders, like putting Gerrard in De Bruyne's spot on City doesn't make them better, but putting De Bruyne in to our side makes us better, kind of deal. So I think it really depends on who is playing where and which club is in need of which player at that specific point. John, how much do you guys think that it's Pep's system that makes KDB's job infinitely easier? Steve had to play with a lot of sputtering team system-wise and sometimes dragged us single-handedly. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree that Stevie G had to drag Liverpool over the finish line many, many times. But I don't think it's fair to say that De Bruyne is just he's just good because of the system. Because we saw what he was able to do at Wolfsburg, and that's part of what City wanted when they brought him back in. Obviously, Belgium hasn't. They were never up to the point where they were expected in the golden generation, but he still really played really well internationally, and that was under a different system as well. I think Pep's system does make KDB play better, but I don't think it's the reason that he is so good. Ryan, I feel like KDB doesn't even really have a position, so the Pep lets him roam and do his thing. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you could also, so maybe forget midfielder. He's just one of the greatest in the Premier League ever, and just kind of keep it that way. Serzi, Anana's taken over. Stevie could play anywhere. Rafa even played him on the right wing. Okay, maybe there would still be. I'm not saying there wouldn't be a place for him on the City side. I just don't think that he would do the things that De Bruyne does better than De Bruyne. And I think what De Bruyne does for City right now, it would be more valuable than what Gerrard could do for City in this same setup. That's pretty much the big argument there. DC, Gerrard played in the 10 in 09 and got 24 goals and 13 assists. Played on the right in 06 and got 23 goals and 15 assists. 13-14 in the 6, he got 14 goals and 16 assists. No one compares. Well, and this is the Monday morning for you, right? We're just throwing out some takes here. and having some fun, talking back and forth and seeing where it goes. Again, obviously, Stevie is my favorite player of all time. I'm gonna make sure that any talk about him, any list about him, he's always gonna be towards the top for me. I just think De Bruyne is out of this world when it comes to his offensive mindedness. I get that he is not as good defensively, but that's pretty much the crux of the argument. Ferguson tried to tap up Stevie. Everyone on Stevie G. Madrid were trying to get him to start trouble with Liverpool so he could leave. Zidane wanted to play with him. Yeah, obviously Zidane wanted to play with a lot of people too, right? I mean, now I'm on the spotlight because I'm all alone, so I'm taking all the heat here. Oh, thank God.
What do you mean, thank God?
I was dying.
Backwards over here. No, yeah, I see that they're really hammering you on the comments here. No, the surprise. I just got a phone call I had to take, but the hot tub guy just called that we were talking about, and he did the it is cold and the temperature, and it's gonna take 2 hours, and it is cold, and I think he used the word cold and freezing temperatures approximately like 10 times in a few sentences there. I'm like, dude, I didn't even expect you to come out today, so stop whining. Tell me when you're coming instead. So I think he's showing up next week. Yes. So the last comment, I'll go with the last comment. You can get me all caught up by explaining yourself. Cosgrove is even like volunteering to hop on and save you over here. How bad did it get, for God's sakes?
All I said was Stevie G was the most overrated midfielder of all time. I don't know why the hell. No, I'm kidding. No, I was saying that right after you left. I was saying that if you put Stevie G, replace Steven Gerrard with De Bruyne right now on that City team, it doesn't make them better because I don't think he does the things that City needs from De Bruyne as well as De Bruyne does. But he'll offer you other things, but I don't think it'll make the team better. Whereas I was saying, if you put De Bruyne into our team right now, it fits a lot better. I don't know. I'm gonna start melting, and pretty soon I'm never gonna come back.
I just see you getting smaller and smaller on the camera.
You can physically see.
It was like the Back to the Future where like the picture starts fading away.
God, I didn't think I would rile up so much this morning.
I don't know. I think this is the problem, right? We can't even tackle in this area. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like while I agree, right? Attacking wise, you put Gerrard instead of KDB, you're not getting the same style of production because of the way they play and stuff like that. Not to say that Gerrard would not have good numbers, but he wouldn't do exactly what De Bruyne brings. But that's why it doesn't make as a comparison, because what he brings that they don't need from that position right now, because they do have Rodri behind it. So like Gerrard would be a Rodri and KDB rolled in one in some ways, which any team would love to have, right? Yes. But if you're only comparing like attacking or vision or passing, I do see what you mean by KDB maybe as a slight edge. But again, I hate comparing eras because they are playing different against different teams, different systems, kind of like what DC I think was saying, the tackling and stuff like that is not the same. It's not as physical now compared to what it was. I mean, I was watching some highlights the other day and I was like, holy cow, like they show some highlights, and the highlights were meant to show like how ridiculous tackling was and stuff like that, because they were showing people like Keane and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there would be like 50 red. Nobody would finish the game if those guys tried to play now.
Right, like you're saying, comparing eras is always going to be the most difficult thing. And it's always frustrating with, especially here in the States, with a lot of NBA talk and people trying to compare, LeBron and Kobe and MJ and all this stuff. And it's just, and Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain. Like you can't, it's so difficult because the eras were so different. I think this between Stevie G and KDB wasn't as huge of a difference, let's say, than some other sports eras. Like if you're comparing from the 2000s to the 70s kind of deal. It's not like we're trying to compare KDB, to someone from the 60s or the 70s, right? It's just someone that was from pretty much the 2000s. But yeah, I recognize that that's not a popular opinion, and part of why I'm on this show is for the entertainment. So as long as it doesn't get to a point where it gets skin cringing, then at least we're doing the right thing.
I didn't realize you were just here for entertainment. So Z says Matush needs a hot tub machine. Yes, unfortunately, it's not going to be fixed.
We have to wait another week for it.
It's too cold to fix that, so he's not gonna get that. That's for sure. Yeah, man, that was hilarious. The guy's like, "It is cold." They're talking about negative degrees. Just like, I'm like, "Yes, I know it's cold, bro. Like, I'm here."
Please, let me come later.
You know what I wondered as I was talking to him? I'm like, you're lucky. Like, we're in the middle of the Monday show, and I'm in a good mood and everything, because I kind of be like, I don't care. I need that fixed today, and put it like a Kevin. You know what I mean? Like, and then be like, I don't care if it's -10 over here.
Note to self:
if you need tea or something, come inside. Like,
note to self: don't get into any repair work and then try to do anything at Too Much's house, because it doesn't matter what the conditions are. You're signed up to do it. You're gonna fucking do it.
See, here's the thing, though. Just like you don't fuck with somebody who's messing with your food, you don't want to really fuck with somebody who's fixing stuff for you, especially when they're just a technician and they're not the company and stuff like that. Because he's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I fixed this. Oh no, there's a new leak that wasn't there before," kind of a thing. So yeah, I didn't want that bad karma on me. So. Yes, I think we can save you from that conversation now. Class has no era. Maradona gets into any era. So does Stevie G. Does Maradona, though? I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so first of all, we're going way too back into the hot tub time machine for you when we bring up Maradona. Apart from the hand of God, have you seen Maradona in action?
I've watched highlights. I've watched games with him in it. Yes.
Okay. I'm just asking, man.
Yeah. No. I appreciate you.
You're a young guy. You're a young guy. You're like, I've heard of him. But
Diego, that guy.
Oh man, Indonesia. Now there's Germany. Andre is with us. How's it going, Andre? So yeah, I mean, here's the deal, right? Like Maradona, yes, with his skill on the ball, still gets out there and does this thing and probably leaves you in awe because he dives into 3 players, he comes up. But more often than not, he does not come out right now. I don't think Cersei says, I'm going to sleep. Everyone has gone mad. Like I say, I don't think he's the same player in this era as he was back then. But yeah, I think, he plays in any era. And I understand the class has no era. I do agree to that. But I don't think it's fair to expect somebody who did great things back there can do the same thing again, and vice versa, mind you. Some of these guys right now, I don't know if they play in that era with first of all, I don't know if they stay healthy the way those tackles were flying back then. I mean, the game has changed a lot, man. I know you were saying, hey, it's only like 2000s, but the game has changed a lot since the 2000s. Like, for example, here you go. Van Dyke, fanboy, and Mr. Jinx. John says, would love to see Virgil in the 2000s. Best teams were more secure defensively, unless he undoubtedly would be top 3 all-time CBs. See, I feel like Virgil fits this era a lot better because, his qualities fit this. He doesn't have to be a butcher to be a good center back. Whereas the center backs you used to have could be Tarkowski style, like sliding, like Nat Phillips would be a top center back in the day. Just different skill set.
Use your head. You don't have to spray passes left and right because you're not expected to make any passes at all. So you pretty much you just have feet so you can move, and that was it.
And kick people.
And I think so. With that, classes. What was Cersei saying? Class has no era. But style of play has era, and it's difficult.
Yeah,
when we start getting into those comparisons that X player would do well in Y time, because the play style could have been so different that we don't know exactly how they would have been able to adapt to whatever it is. Also, Maradona, I don't know, like, would his diet survive today's game? Would they even allow him to to eat and drink the way he did and not have to piss him off by saying you can't do this, and he's like, fuck this, I'm not playing then if I can't do my own stuff. So I don't know, that's all things that you have to consider.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing, right? Like physically, yeah, those guys could be like, okay, same time, and then just like throw the cigarette and like run out to the field. Maybe.
Can you imagine Pep
Not anymore.
just watching a cigarette butt just throw past him, going, what the fuck?
I think what happens is, like, I thought Van Dijk was a good example in that sense, where some of his best qualities you're kind of like taken away because that's not how the game was played. Yeah, you didn't have them spraying passes. It was just like clear the ball, and then, you know, for the most part. I mean, Serzi says, for example, Hansen wasn't a butcher, one of the greatest ever, like Alan Hansen, I'm assuming, and I agree, he was great, but I don't know if he comes right now, we're like, no, he can't build play or whatever, and maybe we don't use him. I mean, it's like, say, this is why like comparing eras gets, because we don't know. But I think we all started this from KDB. We can all agree that he's freaking too good, and definitely, like, honestly, without KDB and Rodri, those are the two key guys for that team. And I, you know, you can even count Holland and stuff like that. I think even with him in the equation, I still think it all hinges on Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne. Honestly, Kevin De Bruyne in, Rodri out, I think that's still a very susceptible team to like getting scored on and stuff like that and keeping possession. So, but he basically created a title race by himself. I think we can agree by just like freaking showing up. Not Oscar Bob. That was a nice finish. I have to give it to them.
It was a very nice finish.
Freaking last goddamn second, man. That was going to be huge, I thought. I mean, it's still early. We're not going to be like, oh, we're up by 4 points, you know. It's all good in January because we know better. But
anytime there's a two-match gap, anytime
Yeah.
there's a 2-match gap is always nice, especially against City. And I think because John also says here he'd be an excellent stopper, though unbeatable in the air. Strikers weren't as mobile as they were now, with a few exceptions. There's a reason he wasn't dribbled past for over a year. Yeah, that's all great. I also wonder if he would have played as a center back if he had come up a lot earlier in his life, because you might have been able to see him play elsewhere. I don't know where specifically, but given the size and the speed that he had, if other players
he'd be like Yaya.
I mean, he could have played in the midfield. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's another thing to consider as well.
I don't know if he's agile enough, but I know what you mean. Like skill set wise, you'd be like, hey, you know, he can stop, he can build play, he's good with the ball, physical as hell, have a huge guy in the middle of the field. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I just don't know if he's agile enough. But okay, couple of other things to get to over here before we really go haywire. So obviously the rumors, I don't know. Yeah, by the way, announced Eddie Howe going to be sacked this year. Mind you, the year is over. So there's that. He made it to January. He was saying this like a month and a half ago. But it's just not like looking good. Serzi is afraid of a Van Dijk jinx by John over there, so trying to shut him up. And who can blame him? What was I saying? Got distracted. Eddie Howe, Newcastle. I mean, do you put that on Eddie Howe, who is a figure and the assistant next to him is pretty much doing the job? But
that's the most annoying.
Do you really put it on him with all the people that they're missing? Is he going to take the fall for basically all the injuries?
Injuries have hurt. The extra games have hurt. I think that was a big talking point going into the season, and we talked about it before, how having at least an extra 6 games in Europe, right, with the group stage, and having to travel for those group games as well, it would put a little bit of more stress on the team, especially guys that are not used to playing in those conditions and not used to playing more games. So with the injuries on top of it, it's hard to necessarily blame Howe for that, but who else is going to get the blame from it from the guys up at the top other than the manager? Yeah. Unless they've got a soft spot where they're like, you know what, we understand it's been a tough year. We're missing a lot of guys. It's okay, Eddie. Like you got the job. Don't worry about it. But they also have a ton of money, so they're just like, I don't care. We can get someone else in. You know, like Eddie Howe isn't the sexiest name in the world. I can bring in a sexy name. Like, let me bring in a Zidane. Like, can you imagine having them go out. And not that I think Zinedine Zidane would manage Newcastle, but that's the sexy name that they could go for. So yeah, it's I think Anon. Did he mean like the end of the actual year or the end of the season?
No, he actually meant at the time like he wouldn't finish the year. And I want to say, to give him some credit, which is really hard, somewhere on like October or somewhere, I think he was saying this. John can confirm, but it was on like one of our obviously Friday morning shows, and we were like, get out of here. And then we kind of like mocked him. I think everybody in the chat took the bets. And by the way, he owes everybody in the chat. But January 15, it does look very, very shaky. A lot shakier than I thought back then.
Yeah. And that's, I don't think, like, I didn't expect that either. And I think because of Ryan's point as well, having a manager that took you to the Champions League with the squad that they have should be something that's rewarded enough. But this is a cruel business, and loyalties, when there's money involved, it doesn't really matter what you did last year. It kind of matters what you're doing right now for most of the time. So that's the tough part.
And I think, Ten Hag ran into the same thing too, right? Like when you kind of like take that step up, well, now you can't take the step back now. Like obviously everybody is expecting you to take it one step further. Their recruitment, I think that's a good point, and should have done their due diligence on Tonali. Well, basically they rolled the dice and lost that bet with Tonali, can we say?
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. That's the moment of the week right there.
Yeah, so what a sad week this is going to be based on that alone. I like Eddie Howe, but Newcastle are getting impatient, so he'll be out. And I think the impatience is probably coming from what was done so fast, maybe faster than they thought, right? So you kind of like raise the expectation. Like they had like an average year last year. They didn't go to Champions League. And this year they're where they're at. You can be like, oh, injuries and stuff like that. We are where we're at. But when you go up and now you fall down, obviously it gives a different impression than what you normally would.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the curse of having, like Leicester City going out and winning the league, and then immediately afterwards just nowhere to be seen. They're now in the championship. Obviously, it's many years removed, but it's one of those, you can't have it just be a flash in the pan. You need it to be sustainable. And having such a great year that they did, it puts that bar there. You don't get to start the next year with the bar lower because you've already set that bar. So if you're not going to be able to reach that bar, then changes have to be made, and usually that begins with the manager.
Yeah, here's a good question though. Ryan says, if Newcastle had a pretty much full squad this year, where do you think they would be?
I'd say top 6. Like, I don't think they'd be. I guess it's weird because I don't know how much. I guess the weird thing is I don't know how much better they would still be.
I just don't think they were good enough or deep enough to start with.
I think they overperformed
when they're dealing with the Champions League.
Yeah.
Because that's a different animal they were not used to. So you can build a team that's going to get you and go out there, compete once a week, give you the style you want to play and stuff like that. The challenge becomes doing that a few times a week. And I don't think they were ever in that above United. Like I says, that's a really low bar, I think, even for the Saudi owners, I'm assuming. But so the John says he found the short. Anon thinks Eddie Howe gets fired before the end of the season. See, I thought he said end of the year. So I don't know.
Can't
maybe
believe I
clip that Anon.
Anon there. And I would like to this here. So wish fire Klopp? No, because that's not the same logic. That it's Klopp. He didn't go from the rise of both of these managers were different. Like they didn't have the same. Klopp didn't have the same success the next year as Howe did.
Yes.
And then it took a couple of years, and then you got to the Champions League final. You lost it, but then the next year you won the Premier, like you won the Champions League next year. So that there was more sustainability there as compared to what Howe had from this year. But obviously the injuries have hurt. But it's not the same. I wouldn't compare those two situations the same way.
Yeah, because I think you have like a track record, right? I mean, you start and you kind of like constantly going up, going up, going up. You can have a hiccup, and hey, let's face it, even at the end of that season, towards the end of the season, before we made that like last push, there were some club outs chatter already starting, which is like really shocking and like what the hell kind of a deal. And I guarantee you, if the team did not bounce back, those voices would have gotten louder and louder and louder. But when you constantly improve and you want everything under the sun, I think you can afford to have that hiccup. Like if Pep has a poor year, I don't think Pep is like, he sucks now. He doesn't know what he's doing and he's gone. And I do realize, and that's why teams have to rotate. And that's why I'm really hopeful about this 2.0 version and stuff like that. Because I do think you have to rotate and change the squad a lot so that that voice does not get old. Because it does after a while. I think we've all had bosses or whatever, and after a while that the voice starts getting old and the message is not as strong as it was in the beginning, and maybe not as consistent too, because you're seeing like different things along the way and stuff like that. So I think there's too much loyalty to players, and the opposite for players in this league.
Maybe opposite for
managers, he means.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Is that because yes, we do get attached to players a lot more because they give us those moments, right? So you're like that goal, blah, blah, blah. But is it at the same time because you can't change the whole freaking squad, but why changing one guy, maybe you can change some of the outcomes?
Yeah, that's probably most of it. And you grow up playing the sport, and you base off your play, or you kind of based off your role models of who you watched growing up. You don't play the sport growing up going, oh, one day I want to be just like Klopp. I mean, you might be, right? If you're not playing the sport, but if you're going out on the field, you're going to try and emulate whoever it is that you're watching, that you're trying to emulate, rather than the manager that you're trying to emulate. That's sort of like, I think for many people, that's a backup plan. If I'm not good enough, if I'm not athletic enough, if I'm not going to be skilled enough to do it at a higher level, then I can coach it. But I think in the beginning, you try and emulate everything based off the players you watch, not the managers that you see.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, not to mention, you always feel like, I don't know, you're probably a bias, right? I mean, yeah, you sometimes have a bad game and you see these, like on fan TVs and stuff like that. They're like, this whole squad needs a redo and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're like, well, that guy's pretty good. He had some good days, blah, blah. All we need is one center back and one this and a decent manager kind of a thing. And you're hoping like that manager brings everybody up, 5, 10, 15% or whatever. So your team is like, I think we're close, because nobody wants to admit that we're nowhere near close. I mean, so you're hoping that, the new manager kind of brings everybody up a little bit to the level of everybody else. Serzi says KDB better than Stevie. Check out all real quick. It's like that old meme. I had to like drag away Mateusz, but like, it's like, okay, grandpa, let's go get you some applesauce. Let's get you back to your room. I feel if you are a manager, you truly believe in, they deserve 3 years to set their plan in motion and succeed.
Unfortunately,
selling?
It's a results-driven league. If so much money wasn't at stake, I agree. But with a results-driven league that has so much money at stake, these owners are not going to take 3 years to see something come out. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And I think they're quicker to change that because they don't want to lose money. I mean, in hindsight, it might be bad moves that they keep shuffling. Like Chelsea moving away from Potter really quickly might have been a bad. Who knows? But they need to see the results because they need to see the revenue pretty much. And because of where we're at with money in this league and in the sport, you don't have a lot of time to prove yourself. It's very short term, unfortunately. As much as I would like to agree with Ryan, I think, unfortunately, that's where we're at.
I don't know. I'm talking about like the 3 years thing. I don't know if you set a number like that. Like you want to see a direction. Like, are we going somewhere? Because if we're not going anywhere after a year and a half, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't even see where the hell we're going, it's too foggy out there. I'm not riding with you another 1.5 years, because here's the thing. I might be dumping, kind of like what you're saying, another 100, 150, 200 million into your plan that I don't even see. and then it's going to be even harder for the next guy to come in and dig us out of that, because he's going to want his own guys and stuff like that. So I understand that there's like, there's going to be growing pains, and it's not going to be instant success. You do want to, and I would want to, if I'm an owner, I do want to see some improvement or some direction or what we want to do. We're not going to get there today. I realize that, but I want to know where the hell we're going if I'm going to be dumping more money with you. When I'm actually, you guys are free talking about finding a manager that took Newcastle out of the ashes. And when I mentioned loaning Gravenberg, yeah, but I mean, you loaned out Gravenberg because he had like 4 poor games and he just joined. I think that's like a different scenario. Oh, even Galley's up on a Monday morning. That 3-year window would still see Villa in the relegation battle and Emery somewhere else. And that's a good point. And I think, like I say, you just got to see where you're going. And there has to be some kind of an improvement. And if that could be as simple as weeding out the dead weight, like that the new manager does.
And I think, like for Ryan, we're not sitting here and saying that Newcastle should fire Eddie Howe. We're talking about why they would, because of where their expectations are and the money that they have and what they think they can get out of it. That's why I could see Howe getting fired. Do I think he deserves to be fired? Absolutely not. I agree with you. I agree with Ryan every bit that he has done exceptionally well at Newcastle with what they had. The recruitment, like we said, was kind of poor this summer. If Tonali wasn't a gambling addict and he was still playing, maybe things would be different. Obviously, injuries can always change things. So personally, I think both of us don't agree that Howe should be fired. It's just more so that Newcastle, with their ownership, they're at a point where if you brought the team up to here last year and you're here and we don't see any progression like in the immediate future, then they're going to want to take the change.
And I think that's kind of like based on the owners as well, right? And they're about to dump money and stuff like that. And it goes back to that. Like, you better be sure if you're dumping a lot of money, especially with all the stuff going on. We didn't get to talk about Everton on Forest yet, because I don't think
speaking of dumping money
yet. Yeah, speaking of dumping money, because we didn't. But I mean, these are owners still that are gonna put a lot of money into the team. You want to know where it's going to go, and if you're kind of like iffy about your manager, I would argue that you rather unplug and put the new one in first, as opposed to keep giving money to a guy you're unsure about, because then it's gonna get even more frustrating when the results don't come right away. And I mean, Eddie Howe, I don't think he should get fired. I agree to that, because I think, like, that squad was not deep enough to handle everything, and obviously with the injuries it got worse. So I understand that I don't rate him as highly as some other people do. I don't think he's as great as what everybody makes it sound, him and his pocket manager on the side over there, but I don't think he deserves to be fired. But then again, you do have owners that are going to be spending a lot of money, and if they're like, well, I don't know, this is not the guy, if you're going to make some changes, let's make changes now, I guess is what I would say. But then,
because then you lose a year or 18 months of investment into players that maybe the manager that you want isn't going to want there. So then you just wasted all that time.
Yeah.
So if they do believe in yes, and if they do believe in Howe and his vision, then he's not going anywhere. But if they feel like he isn't the guy long term, then why waste that time? That's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, Cersei says it takes sometimes manager 18 months to get rid of the deadwood players signed by previous managers. Look at Everton. Each manager had to deal with crap overpriced players from past boss. And that's exactly my point. But 18 months in, if you're not sure about this dude, then stop spending more money, because he's going to bring more of those players to set up the next guy to fail. And I think that is what has happened over there in Everton. I mean, they had signed some guys with overpriced guys, I should say, and then obviously it doesn't pan out. New guy comes in, well, he doesn't fit my system. And that's another thing, by the way, too. I think that's kind of like the recruitment thing of the next manager. If you're in this tough for like a financial situation and you're in trouble, you're not going to get money to replace guys. I think you want to interview guys coming in and saying, here's what you do with this current squad. And not like a do-over. You don't go after the name and then come in with your plan and stuff. Even if it's not a big name, you go with a guy that's going to work within your financial system and what you have now, and give you a game plan in the interview and say, this is how this team should play with the squad, with this roster or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we didn't get to that. That was probably one of the biggest headlines we're going to talk. And then you said KDB is better than Stevie G, and it went downhill. To be fair to you, that's not what you said.
That's not what I fucking said. That's unfair. That's unfair. That's unfair.
That's not what you said. I mean, but you got pretty darn close. Okay, so a couple of things to cover. JLF Fashions, we're partnering with them to have our new swag shop. It did have a soft open this weekend, only for contributors, but we're gonna make it all public and announced and everything like that sometime during this week. So if you want to support the website, get some of your own American Scouser gear, whether it's hats, shirts, hoodies, and stuff like that. Our coasters, actually, koozies, you name it. Everything you need for American Scouser is right there. So that'll be coming on later this week. Like I say, we probably want to touch on that because I don't want to go into the rumor things. I mean, literally, people are going through. There was this thing I was telling you right before we went on air. The Danish midfielder Morten Frendrup. I mean, would you believe in an interview in 2018, he said he was a boyhood Liverpool fan. So based on that, I'm assuming we'll sign him next week. Because, we sign every kid that is a boyhood Liverpool fan.
I was a fan. Do I get signed? I will sit on the bench. You pay me little. You pay me scraps, and I will just travel with the team.
You don't even have to pay me. I'll just show up just to hang out.
You gotta get something out of it.
Yeah, how about free room and board? You can stay.
Fine, fair. Yeah, I'll just bartend or something on the side, and then we'll be okay. Someone's up.
Someone's up, wants to go out in the cold. Club will be over your house.
So
I would be so happy it became.
Any of these rumors get your juices flowing, if you will? Are you like getting excited? You're like, oh man, that would be really good and stuff. Because I'm not even seeing that. Because any of these stupid Mbappe articles, I'm like, I hope not. So I'm not even seeing anything.
This is the quietest January we've had, even rumor wise, everything wise, in a long time. It's really bizarre. I feel like it smells like January 24th. Something comes out and it's just a done deal. Something might not be that big. Might be a nice depth bench piece. But it's just one of those like we were used to seeing where it just comes out of nowhere and that's it. And that's all we got. And we're just going to move on then.
Ryan says, who's the defender from Nice? Is he nice? I'm on a roll today.
You already had one. Jean-Claire Todibo.
Yeah, I got nothing. Source says, I believe Mbappe rumors above Thiago coming back. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I mean, that's the thing. I don't see anybody that even him. Yeah, I read about. Now you mentioned a name. I didn't realize that's what he was playing. They're negotiating bringing Calvin Ramsey back now. I'm not joking.
Oh, it's official. It's official. He's been officially loaned back, or not loaned back, but he has come back.
What is going on? We're bringing Sexy back. Like everybody that we loaned out. First of all, how crap were most of these guys that 90% of them did not play wherever they went? But oddly, these are people that everybody thinks like they're like, we should give them a shot.
They just didn't fit the system.
Where they went.
They just didn't fit the system.
Oh, okay. Let's go with that.
Wherever they were.
the tough system at Aberdeen you could not adjust to, yes. But I don't know about that. I mean, I think whoever we get, I would like to get a center back. That's probably maybe not an instant impact one, but one that we kind of are like, hey, John says needs that run of games. Well, they're not getting at Liverpool, that's for sure. But yeah, I think that's the only signing that I would be like, yes, that'd be good to have. Unless you're getting a number 6 that's undeniable, right, as a 6. And I don't see a lot of names like that out there even being talked about. So if you're bringing another Endo, that's going to take like a month or two to get into things. It's kind of like too late in the game now. It's January. You might as well wait till summer.
Yeah. Because we had talked about this. People were complaining about signing a 6. Like who would you sign? Like, actually, who is available to sign? There aren't many names out there. And if I hear Andre one more father fucking time, I'm going to freak out.
What happened to that dude?
He's exactly what we thought. Nothing.
But he didn't go to Fulham or anything yet either, right? Because he was really.
He's
by
still
the
in
way,
Brazil.
we can put Carvalho is going to be a negotiating piece to Fulham to get Polina rumors back away because he's gone to Hull City. So yeah, I don't know. He's become tumbleweed. Yeah, I don't know what the hell. I mean, the last we heard, Fulham is kind of like hijacking the deal and stuff like that, and nothing came out of it. And I would assume that's really based on them maybe finalizing the sale of Polina to Bayern to replace him, kind of an ordeal, which has not happened either. Aside from Tottenham, has anybody done anything?
No.
Right?
No. Right.
And we're at the 15th.
I mean,
really quiet. I'm liking it.
In the Prem. Elsewhere, there have been some moves, but yeah. Jordan Henderson might go to Ajax. So there's that.
What is Ajax is like Jordan Henderson. Yep, that's it. That's what we need.
Well,
they need like a mature leader.
They tend to have that one older, mature midfielder that they bring in, because they're in their Champions League run. They had oh God, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. This is So you can just skip past this because I'm not going to remember.
Ajax can't afford Hendo's wages. I don't think anybody is willing or looking to pay Hendo's wages. We're assuming Hendo says generational wealth is overrated and going back kind of an ordeal. I don't think he is. United did get rid of Sancho. I mean, I don't know if that's getting rid of. Sent him back. Tadic was the guy. And I can tell you right now, like Tadic at Fenerbahce, he is that guy. Like he's a leader on the pitch that calms everybody down. Fenerbahce is like a tough game this weekend. And the biggest difference between Fenerbahce of the last couple of years and this year is like having a guy like Tadic and Dzeko in the starting 11. And it shows the value of leadership, I think, because it can keep everybody calm and say, we got this, just keep going kind of a thing. You do need that on the pitch. They just signed Bonucci, by the way, and Krunic.
I saw that.
From Milan.
Yes.
So Bonucci ended up coming in because of an injury, because we don't have any center backs in Fenerbahce as well, because we sent a couple of defenders to the African Cup and stuff. But yeah, that was the only torture I had to endure, aside from some really bad NFL football, aside from the game last night.
I watched none of it except for the last quarter of the game last night between the Rams and
you watched the best football you could have possibly watched all weekend, because all the other games were kind of shit. I think two of them we're like, this game is done, and then moving on. But yes, Martial is supposedly rumored, but that would really depend on Batshuayi being sold, I would think, because Fenerbahce has Batshuayi coming off the bench, and I assume he wants to go to the Euros. He wants to show himself, so he wants to start regularly. I know he was rumored with Forest and stuff, but that was before they had all this trouble. So there goes that rumor. I don't think that's happening. Bobby getting a short-term loan to Chelsea. Apparently, he's not filling Saudi as well. Did these guys make so much money in 3 months that they're like, you know what, it's time to go back?
Well, if it's generational wealth,
we have are already full of cash.
If it's generational wealth, 3 months. You can get quite a bit, can't you?
One generation, at least.
His generation.
Martial will stay at United for 20 more years. I honestly do not want Martial. I don't think it fits what Fenerbahce does. I mean, he will probably do decent, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, nah. I'll tell you who's doing great at Fenerbahce and is loving life. I haven't seen this guy smile so much in his entire United career is Fred. That guy is loving life. Like,
I mean, we had that moment, the weird shout where I said, I think Fred as a 6 at Liverpool wouldn't be all that bad. But it is what it is. Like the
only difference is he does have almost like a 6 next to him right now, winning every goddamn ball. The kid's that's probably gonna be going somewhere. He's a star. He's like a rising star in like Turkish soccer and stuff. Speaking of Turkish soccer and rising stars, Arda was back in action.
He was
last week. I'm watching Real Madrid games now, sadly, just to see if Arda is going to come in. I had to root for Real Madrid to really pound Barcelona yesterday.
And they did.
They were playing the Super Cup. They did, but then Arda didn't have to come in. They had to pay it all back. It's only tax-free if they finish terms of their initial deal. Hando going to lose 8 million to leave. Did they have a signing bonus or something they keep? Because I just don't see these guys selling out. I mean, especially a guy like Hando, you're like, at this point, you'd be like, dude, I sold my reputation for this. I guess we're staying.
Yeah.
And you would just stay.
Yeah.
At least a year or whatever. But I don't know how long their contract is and what their terms are. Looks like Galley is trying to sign a contract himself. So he really looked into terms. He's like, hey, man, we can put a
really
YouTube video of Galley highlights out there. Get him a contract in the Saudi, some generational wealth for him as well. So, okay, the boys don't play, obviously, till the weekend. How much soccer are you watching? Are you watching the African Cup, the Asian Cup, and all that kind of stuff when our boys play, or taking a non-soccer week?
I mean, if there's something going on, because it's the sport that we love, I'll throw it on. As you know, Mondays are my day off. So if there's anything playing, I'll usually throw it on. I think today, what have we got? AFCON.
Nothing too attractive.
Cameroon, Guinea, Algeria, Angola. Not anything there, because Japan and Egypt played yesterday, so there wasn't going to be anything that was going to come up today. So yeah, there's not much there to be honest. So I don't know. What about you?
As I work, if there, I don't see anything like today, for example. If there's a game like they're out there, the times kind of work, so I would probably put it on there. Oddly, we have like a middle of the day NFL football game, so I'll probably just put that on as I'm working. Sparky says high school soccer week for me. John is taking a break, great for my mental health. And Galley says no Miller Lite, no Galley. Galley, I don't think you understand how this thing works over there, man. You get everything, not officially, legally, but you'll get your Miller Lights. You'll have a garage full of. I get you a Hando. Well, I don't know if Hando is into Miller Lite, but if he's into Guinness or something like that, his garage is probably full of them. And like I say, and this was, holy shit, I'm old, but probably like 40 years ago, almost, that I was there. And it's gotten a lot lighter since then over there in terms of rules. And even then, there was alcohol and all kinds of stuff readily available. It looks like everybody's taking a non-soccer week. Wife leaves for a week. It'll be all drunken, naked week in the house.
Love that.
Wait, is this like a thing for you guys? That when the wife is when she's out of the house, you're going around drunk and naked.
It just sounds fun. We could just let our hair down, and just go crazy. Why not?
Well, I don't have enough hair to let down, I guess, but I'm not going around naked either. So I don't know if the dogs are going to be like, dude, what are you doing? Put some freaking clothes on. But yeah, it is kind of like it was like a non-stress weekend. I would have loved that Newcastle game to end like that, man. It still feels like so close kind of a thing. But overall, good weekend. Fenerbahce squeaks a win too after a stressful 90. So yeah, we're ready for the boys tonight. Obviously, we'll be on air with Galley and his Miller Lights, along with Bickler. We'll discuss all the transfer rumors. No, we won't. I'll try not to make sure. By then, I don't know if we'll hear anything about this whole Everton.
Just talk about the Lions for the whole hour.
Oh, yeah. Bickler probably. I don't know if Bickler is still like alive and sober. So we'll see if he recovered. It's only been 24 hours at that time since the game. Not even 24 hours since the game ended. So 22. We'll see if he recovered and sobered up and stuff. But hey, as always, thanks a lot to those joining, liking, smash that like button, as Bickler would say. And then we'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, with the gang for the Monday night podcast. Have an awesome week, everybody. Relax, because we're in for like a huge ride, and it starts this weekend with the Bournemouth game. So have a great day, everybody. Take care.